Hey, so today we're planting some late season browse. This is silky dogwood. It's one of the highly preferred browse, and I expect it'll probably be a highly desired food for the deer late in season when all the other sources are gone. So I've come to a food plot here, and you can see I have one up already. What I've done is I've got a trail coming out of the woods, which you can see right there. That trail's coming out, so the deer will come out. I'm going to have a bunch of switchgrass planted to allow them to feel comfortable moving out into the food plot in the switchgrass. At the edge of the switchgrass, I'm planting silky dogwood and something else called red osier dogwood. I don't have the red osier dogwood with me today, so I'm only doing the silky, but I'm putting them about 12 feet apart, and in between these silky dogwoods, I'll come back when my red osier dogwoods come in and I'll plant them in between. So about every 5 or 6 feet around this little point I'm creating here to help draw the deer out through the switchgrass from that trail that'll be lined with some of these silky dogwood and red osier dogwood. So that's what we're doing. Let me show you how we're doing it. Okay, to start with, we have our bare root seedlings. These came from the Kentucky Division of Forestry. These are our silky dogwood bare root seedlings. We have a tree tube to protect the tree as it grows, and we have a stake to hold it in position. And then I'm going to use this instrument called a dibble, D-I-B-B-L-E. So real simple. Let's show you how it works. So we're going to use our dibble to create the hole, and literally I'm trying to do this while I'm holding the camera. We just step on it, kind of. I know that's shaking, but you get the idea. Anyway, it's stabbed into the ground. I'm going to take it, I'm going to pull it back to me, and you can see I'm beginning to open up a little hole, if you will, in the ground. So creating this hole. All right, this ground is wet. It is the end of February. It's been very cold, snowy, and wet up here in Kentucky, but we got a nice hole. So now we can put the plant down in it, and then I'll show you how we're going to close the hole back up. Let's get a tree. Okay, there's not a whole lot to it. This is our bare root seedling. So we're going to place it down into our hole we created. I'm going to try to put it down a little further than it needs to go, and then pull it back up, because I don't want those roots to make the tips of those roots to make a U and start trying to come back towards the surface. I want them to, so if they do start to make a U, I push it down too far and then pull it back up. All right, and so that's about where we want it right there. Now we're going to use our dibble to mash the dirt back into it. So let's kind of sink it back down into the mud here on this side of it, and we're going to use it to close that hole up. So we're going to push on our dibble, and you see how that's closing that up. And so the nice thing that does, amongst other, is it ensures that we have good soil contact with all of those roots. And I'm just kind of stepping on it here. And there's our little, hard to see, but there's our little seedling. And that's it, that's all it is. I've got this little hole left over here. I don't know if it's better to leave that as an exposed hole or close it. I'm going to close it. All right, so that's creating the hole. That's putting the plant in. Now let's put our grow tube on it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stake it. So I've got these fiberglass stakes. These particular tubes are called Plantra. The company's called Plantra. They're the best I've found. And these are the stakes that will kind of hold our tube onto the plant. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to kind of hammer, if you will, hammer this fiberglass stake in the ground. And we're going to use this hollow metal pole. It's going to slip right over the top, come right over the top of our fiberglass. Good. Just like if you were on the farm and going to hammer in some fence posts. Let's see. All right, we're just going to hammer it down. There is a little green mark down here that tells you about how far to go, and we are there. All right, so you see our fiberglass stake. You see our little tree over here hiding on the back side, our bush, our silky dogwood. That's really all there is to it. And now we're going to put our tree tube on it. Okay, so now we're going to put our tree tube over the stake, over the tree, and that'll finish it up. to make sure our tree goes up into the tube. And then I use these little ties to hold the stake and the tube up together. So some people will put the tubes on the stakes on the outside of the tubes, and I used to do that, but I quit doing that. Down in the hot summer, especially down in the far south, it gets so hot it'll just make that thing just turn soft and it'll just slide down. When the stake is inside the tube, it's a lot less able to do that. So I just like to put the stakes inside the tube. Even here in Kentucky in the middle of the summer, it has a few days, a few weeks, it'll get really hot. It helps keep that tube up on the stakes better. All right, and that's it. So it's a great way to get some late season food for the deer that's an attractant when most of the rest of the food sources are gone. The tree tubes are going to protect them, so while they're young and growing, the deer can't browse them and kill them. So it lets them get on up and get out of the top of these tubes, and then I'll remove the tubes and let the deer start eating on them. But anyway, that is how we plant some dogwoods or some any kind. There's several kinds of different things you can plant, but good late season woody browse for the deer and protect it. See you next time.